Hey, lovelies, guess what? It's Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. And I just finished my workout and I thought, I'm motivated. What better way to record a motivational speech for Monday, right? So, this is what I came up with when I was working out with some thoughts and I was jotting them down. And I just wanted to share something that might help you out with your week and try and, plant some seeds to try and create some new blooms in the garden of your life. So, wondering first, have you ever looked at someone and thought they have what you want and you connect it to, I bet they had a rich family, or I bet they had help, or they're extra lucky, or whatever it is that you believe separates you from them? What is it that they have that you don't? They had something that you didn't, and that's now why you're justifying that they get to have what you don't have, right? Well, for this Motivation Monday, I wanted to give you a little idea that might help to reprogram some of those old patterns, those old thinking. So, A Course in Miracles, which is the metaphysical text that I talk about all the time because I love it. I love the clarity that it provides us. So, A Course in Miracles teaches that we have chosen, what we have chosen to see is often what costs us our vision. And I would further that thought by a quote by Michelle O'Donnell, who said, "You can suffer, but only from false beliefs." So, our programming, which came from a very disorienting pin the tail on the donkey kind of phase in our lives as children, thank you parents and society for that, have turned us upside down and inside out. So much so that we keep doing the same thing, thinking the same thoughts, and we don't really often take time to consider, out of the gajillion possibilities in that quantum field, that there could possibly be another way to experience life. We strategically seem to suppress our desires and dismiss them with the excuse, and then we feel that in some way that lets us off the hook. So I'm here to take your thinking and turn it right side up, because that's what I do best. You're welcome. You don't realize that you're upside down and inside out in your thinking because it's your natural mode of operation. It's your programming that these excuses keep coming from. And I want to create just a little smidgy of space in your awareness today and invite you to try on something new just for this week. You can let me know what you think about it and how it worked for you when we chat again next week. Because more than anything, I want to create a community of people who know how to access their invisible power, their magical and miracle creating power of love that I talked about in the story that I shared in the video yesterday. So if you haven't watched it, go back and check out my Sunday story. I encourage you to do this because it will make a whole lot more sense. So I'm creating this community of people who know how to deploy miracles, who know that miracles are just interruptions in patterns. And that when we are not creating them on a regular basis, that means that we have slipped back into our dreaded spiritual coma state. So one way to do this, one really fun and easy and powerful way to take on the new role of deployer of miracles, which I'm officially appointing you of. Well, actually, you've always been it. This is your birthright. I'm just reminding you what your true nature is all about, right? And this, you know exactly how to execute miracles, to interrupt patterns, and to create the desires using the power of love. It's not to wait. No more, never again. If you really want to speed up your manifestations, stop waiting. Hey, guys, it's a Manifestation Monday. I get to grind you a little bit today, right? So this is how we make the most effective use of all the challenges and unnatural feelings that we experience. We know that they are what propels us towards our growth. We grow out of our suffering. We grow out of our pain. It's those things that get our attention. It's not the smooth life that gets our attention. So to experience maximum growth, maximum maturation of our evolution, And to not die with potentiality still left unexplored, we need to live this way. We need to keep advancing our theme, our core lessons that we came here to learn. We need to always be on the lookout for opportunities to advance it. And why would we want to do this? Because it gives us the experience of more joy and bliss, and we're more in tune with who we really are. In other words, we get to those higher and higher levels of refinement. That sounds like a whole lot more fun way to live than being an excuse factory. I want to help you attain clarity of true vision, clarity of what you truly know yourself to be, the clarity which you know the universe to be inseparable from you, from all that is, and the clarity from which you create and manifest miracles because you are aligned and you know how to deploy them. The clarity I'm speaking of originates in the same seed as our heart's desire. So your natural heart's desire is to express itself. And there's clarity when we do that. Your heart's desire is to reconnect to deeper truths, which also provides the clarity of direction. Your heart's desire is to learn unconditional, or is to be unconditional light, which brings the magical clarity of to shadows of judgment. And your heart's desire is to be a continual, unconditional state of bliss, which provides clarity of the mystery. Does this make sense so far? So if you want clarity, we need to peek outside of that old programming, take the blindfold off from our disorientation phase of our childhood, and connect to our heart's desire. Because just like an acorn has all the DNA and the genetic coding to become a massive oak tree, we too have the desire to grow and the potential to create ourselves in this bliss state. How do I know? Because I have relearned how to connect with it and I live it every day. And so because it's Motivation Monday, I want to give you a way to really accelerate this week. If you feel like it's your timing to experience something new, I invite you to give up the trying mode and the waiting excuse. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you catch yourself every time you're going to use those excuses of trying or waiting for something. Laugh about what you're trying to do and trying to kid yourself about this, and choose to intentionally use the time that you are given on this beautiful planet to maximize the benefit extraction process. So an obvious example would be when, say, you're waiting for someone, like I was yesterday for my daughter Emma, who needed to run to the store for a phone charger and ended up shopping for other things like any other 10-year-old with money would do. So while I was waiting, I had like an unplanned 10 to 12 minutes of being in waiting mode, and I could have, in my old self would have, become frustrated that I was waiting and waiting and waiting. Well, I had other things to do. The old feeling of being taken advantage of began rising up, but instead of succumbing to that old programming, I reminded myself that I have a choice right now in this moment of how I want to feel. And instantly, I chose to see that this break in my schedule was a gift from the universe, just for me. Instantly, that thought alone gave me those love bubbles and activated my bliss state. You can't think about the universe giving you something without activating that bliss state. It's synonymous. So I chose to use this break in my schedule intentionally. I thought, okay, she's obviously not sticking to our quick in and out plan. What else can I do in this moment? Well, I had a profound thought. And while I was driving, so I was able to make some notes on my phone about it. Then I was also able to finalize the order of something that I had found online earlier that day, and I was also able to update my grocery list. So instead of grumbling and being annoyed, the time was used purposefully. And that meant that by the time I got back home, I was much more prepared, both physically and mentally, because I wasn't annoyed and ragging on my kids. I was in my bliss state, able to spread love rather than toxic criticisms. That gap that was created for me, that breathing space, helped me to feel more organized and to be more prepared for my next actions. I definitely could have just sat there and stewed, and my old self definitely would have. But I have learned that nothing is random. And even this little interruption in my tightly woven schedule was a much needed breather for me in that moment. So that is an obvious example of how we can use the waiting game to connect to our heart's desire rather than go into our mind's favorite place, which is on the crappy throne of judgment, right? Maybe for you, in that instant of waiting for someone, your heart would have needed you to take some slow breaths in and out, or maybe watch the snowflakes that were falling, or maybe you just needed a moment of serenity. Maybe your heart would have loved if you could have focused on showering yourself with love. Maybe you could have marveled at the fact that everyone who is walking by you is part of the one, part of creation. And maybe that would have completely changed the vibe in the vehicle that you are in, going from being annoyed to a state of appreciation. Maybe you would be in awe of the unity of everything, the interconnectedness of life. Whatever you would feel in that moment would be a dosage of what would ramp you up, what would speed up your evolutionary benefits that you are trying to extract out of this life in that moment. Go ahead, try that. Any of these things are intentional. Don't wait. One of my favorite quotes that really speaks to me daily is by Lao Tzu, who said, "There is never anything to do, but always action to take." So I ask you, what action can you take that will support your ability to extract the benefits from this moment, from your waiting moments, right? So what I'm not trying to do is I'm not trying to teach a cookie cutter way to up-level your life. I'm here to help you access what messages are for you. And what do you need to tap into that will light your soul up and bring your heart joy? I want to help you get out of that bogged down, heavy energy of excuses, of trying and waiting, and get into that light-filled energy of action-taking, benefit-extracting way of living. As humans, we allow "I'm trying" or "I'm waiting for" whatever it is to be our default excuse way too often. We think it gives us some relief, and that helps us to get off the hook. But really, it's just another desire suppression mechanism. And aren't we done with that already? How will you evolve when you're still in trying or waiting mode? How will you extract the benefits when you are dismissing or suppressing the opportunities that are given to you with excuses? How will you take the role in your life as deployer of miracles if you aren't taking action towards that? So let's practice playing with that idea this week. We're going to stop being excuse makers and we're going to start being action takers that deploy our miracles in our lives. And guess what? This is only part 1. I'm going to share part 2 with you next Monday. So have an excellent week, and I look forward to hearing your feedback. Oh, and one more thing. You are worthy, and you are ready. Mwah.